All right, so for today's example, we have a problem that states in the right triangle FGH, the measure of angle G is 90 degrees, the side length F is 8, side length G is 17, and side length H is 15. And then it's asking what are all 6 trigonometric ratios of angle H? Okay, so we know we're going to have a triangle and we know all 3 lengths, but we need to find all 6 trigonometric ratios. Well, if you recall, we know our 3 basic trigonometric ratios, sine, cosine, and tangent. We've used the mnemonic device SOHCAHTOA to help us remember those. So real quick, just to summarize what we do know, sine of an angle equals opposite over hypotenuse. And we call this sine. Cosine of an angle equals adjacent over hypotenuse. And we call that cosine. Tangent of an angle equals opposite over adjacent. And we call that tangent. Okay, so those are our 3 basic trig ratios. However, they're asking for all 6 trigonometric ratios. So each of these ratios has a reciprocal ratio. So the reciprocal ratio for sine is the cosecant. When we write that, we're going to do CSC for cosecant of the angle equals, and then we just take the reciprocal of the side length. So for sine, we had opposite over hypotenuse. So for the cosecant, we're going to switch that around. We have hypotenuse over the opposite. And to write that out is cosecant. The reciprocal of the cosine ratio is secant. And secant, we will use SEC of a given angle. We take the reciprocal of cosines. We have hypotenuse over adjacent. And that, again, is secant. And the reciprocal ratio of tangent is cotangent. We will use COT of a given angle equals, again, we take the reciprocal of the tangent, so adjacent over the opposite. And that is cotangent. So that chart, if you want to recreate that in your notes, gives you a little bit of the basics on each of the 6 ratios. Now, I just copied the problem so I can scroll down for us and we can look at this example together. So for the problem they gave us, I'm going to start by drawing the right triangle. Okay. The first thing I'm going to look through, okay, well, I know it's an FGH are my angles for the triangle. The measure of angle G is 90 degrees. So my 90 degree angle is G. Okay. My side length F is 8 and side length G is 17. Well, side length G will always be across from angle G, and that's going to be a small g to represent side length G, and I already know that's 17. I have 2 other sides. I have F and I have H. H is 15 and F is 8, so H I'm going to put on the longer side here, and that's 15. And I will put F on the other side, and F has a length of 8. What else do I know? Well, if this is side H, okay, that would mean that across from side H would have to be angle H, and across from side F would have to be my angle F. So I'm always using capital letters to represent my angles and lowercase letters to represent my sides. All right, so we need to find all 6 trigonometric ratios for the angle H. So I'm going to go ahead and change colors here because I want to keep this straight. So now we're using angle H. That's going to be our reference angle. So we start from the beginning. We know sine is an easy one. Let's go there. We have sine of angle H equals, well, if you forget, you can scroll back up and look at your SOHCAHTOA chart, but sine is always opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite of angle H is side length H, which was 15, over the hypotenuse length of 17. The next ratio I'm going to find is the reciprocal ratio for sine, which is my cosecant. So cosecant of angle H equals, and I'm just going to take the reciprocal, so I need hypotenuse over the opposite. 17 is my hypotenuse over the opposite length of 15. That's sine and cosecant. All right, then I'm going to move along. I'm going to do my cosine. Cosine of angle H equals adjacent over hypotenuse, which is my adjacent side on top, and the numerator position, which is an 8, over my hypotenuse in the denominator, 17. And then the next trig ratio I'm going to do would be that the reciprocal ratio for cosine, which we said was the secant. So secant for angle H equals hypotenuse, excuse me, got a little messy, over the adjacent, which is going to be 17 over 8. Last but not least, I need to find my tangent and my cotangent. Tangent of angle H is going to be equal to opposite over adjacent, which is going to be 15 as my opposite length over 8. And last but not least, my cotangent for H is going to be the reciprocal ratio of my tangent. So that is going to be equal to my adjacent over the opposite, which is 8 over 15. So you can see once we had our triangle, we could go ahead and fill in any lengths. This time all 3 of side lengths were given to us. We just need to figure out where those got laid out in respect to our angles given. And then we go ahead and do each of the 6 trigonometric ratios. Again, please copy down that chart in your notes to make sure you have an understanding of which ratios are reciprocals to which ones. And you can always pause the video and rewatch if you get stuck. And I hope that helps.